All right, why don't we get things started here? So Adam Lee is Dominion Energy's Vice President, Chief Security Officer, and Security and Intelligence Liaison with the U.S. government and the federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. Mr. Lee joined the company of Dominion in this role in 2018. In addition to his responsibilities as Chief Security Officer, Mr. Lee serves as Dominion Energy's executive leader over its Veterans Resource Group. Before joining Dominion Energy, Adam served as special agent in charge of the FBI's Richmond division. In 2018, he retired from the FBI after a career that spanned 22 years in counterterrorism, counterintelligence, cyber investigations, and operations. And so we're absolutely delighted to be having him here to share his thoughts with us. So please join me in welcoming Adam Lee.
There we go. I don't like podiums. And I think one thing that you learn after a career 30 years doing what many of us in the room did with federal agencies, investigative agencies, is you learn very quickly how to read a room. So I understand everyone is tired. I'm going to make this very brief, even though Nathan built this up. I have a million war stories, and I love to share them, and I'd be happy to share them over a beer or a glass of wine at the reception. So I did want to, one thing that the university president, President Kelly, mentioned was collaboration. And so I'm gonna punctuate our day today with just a couple of quick words. I promise not more than 10 minutes on collaboration. Because I joined the FBI in 1996. So I had several years with the agency before 9/11. And let me tell you, it was a very, very different agency. And not just a different agency, but it was a very different environment in the nation and in places like this. I think about when I graduated college, 1991, it was almost the exact same amount of time, passage of time that Vietnam happened, as to when I graduated high school, as the folks who are going to this university look back on 9/11. And I will tell you, when I was in college, Vietnam was ancient history. I did not feel an impact on my life from the Vietnam War in 1991. I worry that our culture is starting to slip from a sense of understanding that we are in a persistent state of an asymmetric war with adversarial forces, whether they're terrorist organizations or nation states, because it hasn't touched them. They haven't felt it the way many of us in the room did. I was in San Diego. I've told this story. There's a few folks here who probably heard me give a very similar, much longer speech at the War Memorial not long ago. But I was a brand new agent in San Diego, California, when 9/11 occurred. And I loved the job of an FBI agent because you are literally given the keys to a car, you're given a gun, you're given a lot of training, you're given a very powerful set of credentials. And it was go build a source network and find crime. Here's Title 18, go find something in there that you can solve some crimes. And if you're at your desk, that means you're not working. So you operated as a very independent actor as an FBI agent prior to 9/11, and it was wonderful. It was great. 9/11 happened, and Bob Mueller, who some of you may have met, was on the job for about a week, I think, when 9/11 happened as the new FBI director. And his charge was to entirely transform the organization. And I felt that sort of legacy organization when I got involved in the 9/11 investigation of two of the hijackers that were living in San Diego. And these were two sort of unique hijackers because they were essentially al-Qaeda leaders. One was Nawaf al-Hazmi and the other was Khalid al-Mihdhar. And al-Mihdhar in particular was sort of in the realm of Muhammad Atta, if you remember the history of 9/11. And he was picked up in Malaysia in 1999, meeting at an al-Qaeda summit there. They were brazen enough pre-9/11 to actually hold a summit where they would all assemble and share plots and plans, I guess. And NSA picked them up there. And there was an intel bulletin that went through those channels. Then the two guys, al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar, flew their way to LAX, and the agency knew they were flying and knew they landed in LAX. That was another bulletin in a different set of channels. And then they went down to San Diego and they lived on the floor of the home of a guy named Abdus Sheikh, who happened to be the head of the Islamic Foundation of San Diego, very, very prominent leader in the community. And those two hijackers were living on his floor while they took their flight lessons at Montgomery Field, a municipal airport right across the street from the FBI field office. So they were doing that through 2000. They weren't very good. They had a lot of language barriers with the flight instructors and all that kind of stuff. In fact, they were suspicious. And to make matters worse, they were living on the floor of the Sheikh, who happened to be an enrolled FBI confidential informant. So NSA picks him up, meeting with al-Qaeda leadership in Malaysia. CIA picks him up coming into the United States. The FBI does not pick them up living on the floor of one of their enrolled confidential human sources. That was probably the best opportunity to prevent the attacks of 9/11, was putting those pieces together. So when Bob Mueller joined the FBI, his charge was to create in the FBI an intelligence agency that worked off requirements that would never let that happen again. And then the creation of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the creation of a Department of Homeland Security, and the expansion of Title 50 authorities created an intelligence community network so that those pieces wouldn't be failed to be put together for the whole threat picture. So that would never happen again. And in the ensuing years, after that, the whole story behind my interviewing of the Sheikh, I got to have the lengthy interview with the Sheikh, learned a lot about the Middle Eastern community and the Islamic community in San Diego. It was the largest community of Middle Eastern people outside of Dearborn, Michigan, which was the largest outside of the Middle East. So we learned a lot about the dynamics of that community and how these folks were funded and a lot of the covert operations that were happening right under our nose in San Diego. So flash forward, I'm now an SAC, which is a special agent in charge at the FBI. And the development of all those capabilities over time led to an operation that at the time was classified. It's been reported on now, but it's essentially a collection platform requiring those Title 50 authorities that I asked Dave Ring about over lunch, which are under assault and attack right now because of the political dimensions surrounding the FISA court and national security authorities under 702, which don't require a warrant, but essentially enable NSA to collect content of people who are talking to predicated subjects overseas here in the United States. So to give you an example of how we use that outside of presidential campaigns and all the rest of it that have put those authorities in peril, we would receive from NSA identification of people here in the United States, some even through their gaming consoles and things that are talking with then ISIS recruiters in Syria, for example. So I can't tell you how many plots, but how many recruitments were off-ramped, how many plots were disrupted, how many people were identified through that platform, that operation. There's a name for it, but I think that's still classified. So when you're hearing these discussions and we're talking about the essential nature of private sector, public sector collaboration, the relationships between agencies, and the notion of the fact that we have adversaries that want to kill us, that we cannot, in this sort of crazy environment of politics we're in right now, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Can't do it. Just absolutely can't do it. We're going to put people at risk. So all of that to say that conferences like this, programs like Nathan's here, trying to raise awareness, trying to raise responsible practitioners of the craft of national security is absolutely essential to the future of the freedoms that we enjoy here in the United States. And people who will tell you otherwise they either don't know what they're talking about, they're consumed with politics, or they're lying to you. So I just wanted to put that out there because you guys are practitioners of the craft. You're patriots, and I'm glad you're here. And I'm very much looking forward to sharing a drink with you in the reception. So thank you all. I will see you out there, and I will also see you tomorrow.